All right. Hi, everybody. Hi, and welcome to our very first class of 2025. I am Erin O'Brien. I am the team leader of the Mix Masters, and myself and our team of consultants from mainly all over Victoria. Love bringing you these classes each month to help you get the most out of your Thermomix. And we are kicking off the year with a very timely, I think, back to school or lunchbox themed class. So I know if you're anything like me, you are counting down the days till the kids are going back to school. It's been a day here, and if you hear my kids in the background, please just ignore that. But we thought with only a bit over a week left in Victoria of school holidays, it was a great chance to time to bring you a class of all kinds of lunchbox fillers, savoury sweets, everything in between. So thank you so much for joining us. I'd love you guys to pop in the chat box, perhaps where you're watching from tonight. Do you own a Thermomix? And if so, what model? And perhaps, yeah, if you have kids at school or you're thinking, or kinder, or you are looking for some ideas for yourself, or just want to learn more to get the most out of the Thermomix, what's brought you along tonight? Let us know in the chat box. So we are going to get started straight away, and we're actually going to head over to Jess, who is going to get us cooking with a couple of great recipes.
Hey everyone, so I'm Jess. I am Thermilife on the Farm on Instagram and Facebook, and I am based in Caniva, so up in the northwestern Victoria. Tonight, I am actually going to make chocolate chip granola bars because my kids love muesli bars, but they're very expensive to buy. So let me know in the chat if you guys are buying muesli bars, and I'll show you how easy it is to make these ones. So this is a recipe that I'm going to be cooking manually. So bear with me while I do that because I'm definitely much more used to using the guided cooking of the Thermomix, but I am going to show you the functionality of being able to use that manually as well. So we'll get started. We need to preheat the oven, which I've done, and then it's also telling me to grease a rectangular slice tin. But I'm actually going to use these snack bar molds, which you can buy in the mix shop. They are actually, there is a not so much a sale as such at the moment, but it's double rewards points on any of the back to school items, and these do come under that. So if you haven't already, sign up to the MyMix Rewards, you'll get your $15 voucher, and then you can get double rewards points when you buy things like this to get you back on track for back to school. I use these mold heaps for my muesli bars, and they're really perfect. All right, so we're just going to start with canola oil. So I'll just scroll across to my scales. We're going to do 50 grams of canola oil. Now, I don't know where you're watching in from today, but it's very hot here, and my canola oil is, coconut oil is already very melted. It doesn't really stay solid this time of year up here. Oh, there we go. And then we need 50 grams of brown sugar. Just make sure you tell your scales. Is anyone making their own brown sugar? I love to make my own brown sugar just using normal white sugar and some molasses. Much cheaper than buying it. It only takes a couple of minutes in your Thermomix. Honey. Need 85 grams of honey. Oh, a little bit much, that's okay. And then we need some vanilla, a teaspoon of vanilla. Again, I do make my own from vanilla beans, which does make it a lot easier. So I've always got it on hand in bulk. It's definitely much cheaper again. But you'll see that this recipe is only using some pretty basic ingredients, which makes them very cost effective. It does need a little bit of salt, so I'll just put in a little bit. I don't really measure that properly. All right, and then we're going to mix for 4 minutes. Lid back on, we'll go here, we'll use the time button, we'll go up to 4 minutes. In the middle, go around to 90 degrees. And then once we move the speed dial, it's going to engage the blades, and we're just going to go around to speed 3. There we go. That's just going to melt that up. Ready for the next step.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. So while that's melting, I'm going to come over here. I am nearly timed out on me then. So yes, I am going to start by making off a really basic bread recipe, and then a little bit later on showing you all of the different ways you can use that to make all kinds of different things for yours or your kids' lunch boxes. So the recipe I am using is the Thermomix bread recipe. This is available on Cookie Do, but essentially when you're doing something like this, you can use whatever your favorite bread is or whatever your favorite dough is. So if you've got a particular bread or dough that you normally like, feel free to use that. But I'm going to go into my wheat because I have already popped that in there. And you will see the Thermomix white sandwich bread loaf. So yeah, this one is on Cookie Do. So we're just going to start cooking like normal. If you wanted to, you could scroll down and read all the ingredients, read the hints and tips and that kind of thing. But otherwise, we are just going to get to start cooking straight away. So into there, we are going to actually scales a tad, but we're going to put 270 grams of water. And then we're going to next a teaspoon of sugar. Who's making bread and rolls and all of those things in your Thermomix at the moment? Pop it in the chat box and let us know. What do you make? Or have you always wanted to try something but been put off thinking it was too hard or too time consuming? 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. Pop it in the chat box and let me know. 450 grams of baker's flour. I've got my giant baker's flour tub here. We make lots of different spreads and doughs. So we buy the baker's flour in bulk. So obviously with our built-in scales, we're just saving on extra dishes. You're only going to have perhaps a teaspoon to wash and your Thermomix after this recipe. 450 grams of baker's flour, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, which like Jess, I'm just going to loosely measure that. Pop it in. 1.5 teaspoons of bread improver, optional. So people ask me all the time about bread improver and whether you need it or what you can use as an alternative. I do think it makes a difference. I think it's worth buying personally. That's just my personal opinion. I think it makes your bread fluffier and it lasts a little bit longer and just gives better results, in my opinion. But if you don't have it, you can leave it out, or you can also substitute it for now I've lost my train of thought. Apple cider vinegar. But yeah, you could leave it out altogether if you don't have any. That's completely fine. But if you have a chance to grab some from the shops, I'd grab it. It's only a couple of dollars for the packet from last ages. And then 15 grams of olive oil. And that is it. You're just throwing it all in there and then popping our lid back on. Next, and now we've just got 6 minutes of kneading. So you'll see the wheat symbol is there. So you're just going to start that and it's going to do all the work for you. So obviously 2 minutes of kneading in our Thermomix is equivalent to about 20 minutes of hand kneading. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do 6 minutes, let alone a lot more than that, or an hour of hand kneading. So absolutely better results by using your Thermomix and saving you lots of time. So now we are going to head back to Jess and she should be finished that melting stage.
Yeah, perfect timing. So you can see now it's all melted up nicely. So that's becoming like the glue to bind this all together. So I'll just go back to my instructions here. So now we're going to add the quick oats and the rice bubbles. So it does say that you can use, if you prefer to use rolled oats, you can. However, just with the quick oats, I just whizzed up a few of my rolled oats to make them into quick oats because that's all they are, just chopped up a bit more. It just makes it bind a bit better. So we need 230 grams. So So let's pull that, measure that straight in. Go. And then the rice bubbles, we need 50 grams. So just there. All right, that's it there. Okay, now close out of that. Now what we need to do, so it says here that we need to mix it on reverse on speed 2 using the spatula to be able to mix it up properly. So we'll just take the measuring cup out here and we'll just quickly show you that the spatula is designed with the collar on it so that it can't actually hit the blades. So that just prevents it going too far down towards the blade. So what we'll do here, because we are not using temperature, we can just set the, we don't have to set a time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on reverse. I won't forget that. And I'll just turn around to speed 2. And then, so we're not using the blade side of the blades, we're just kind of stirring it up. So I'll just use the spatula here to make sure it gets all stirred in nicely. So we'll stop it there. It's just been 20 seconds. So it's just starting to coat it all, mix it all up now. I'll just give it a bit of a stir. That. And that's all nicely coated in there. You'll be able to see it'll stick to the spatula a bit there. It's all nice and sticky now, looking resembling very much like usually bars. So the next step is actually to let the mixture cool a bit. If I put it back in the bowl here, you'll see that the temperature of the mixture is still at 65 degrees. There's a little number on top of our temperature dial, and that tells you what the temperature is of the mixture at the time. So our next step is to add in some chocolate, but I've just got to let it cool down for a bit. So I'll just leave it here outside of the machine with the lid off and just let it cool for a little bit longer, and I'll be back to put the chocolate in.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. Yeah, so with that recipe, you're just going to give it a few minutes just to cool down, just so that it doesn't melt the chocolate as soon as you add it in, the chocolate chips.
Yeah,
so only takes
that's
a couple
right.
of minutes. So we'll go over to Emma and she is going to get started with her recipe and then we'll come back and finish off those muesli bars. Thanks, Jess.
Hi, I'm Emer and I'm Red Dirt Road Life on Instagram, and I'm a Thermomix consultant in West Gippsland, in Thorpedale, and in the Green Hills. Today I'm going to make olive oil crackers. One of the great things about having a Thermomix is you can actually make crackers in it, and they're actually really quite easy. Hi Phoebe, I can see that you're online too. Phoebe's actually tasted these. So I made them for a demo and I brought them over. So she can let you know that they taste really, really good. So it's not a Thermomix recipe, but I've actually popped the recipe. I've created the recipe on the Thermomix. I just used my computer this afternoon and popped it in. So now I have it there whenever I want to use it. It's quite a simple recipe. You really only need flour, olive oil, and water, and then you can add whatever salt, spices, flavors that you want to add, or you can leave them plain. So the great thing is you can roll it out into a log and break off little bits and just make a few at a time as well. It actually makes quite a lot, and they last for about 3 months in a Ziploc bag or in the pantry. So we'll get started with our created recipe. So it comes up with a list of ingredients, which is really good. So we start with our flour and baking powder and spices. So it's 250 grams of flour. And the weighing scales are still on there for a created recipe as well. It's just using all-purpose flour as well. And you can use gluten-free flour as well. There's a bit of a difference in between the amount of water you use. but I can let you know the details if you want it gluten-free or regular. So a teaspoon of baking powder. And then we're going to pop our spices in. So for me, I'm just going to add a little bit of salt. I'm using Celtic sea salt. Just a couple of pinches. And then I'm using about 3/4 of a spoon of sweet paprika. You can also add like 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper if you like pepper. You can add mustard powder. You can add Parmesan cheese, grated. So there's lots of different things you can add. And then we'll give it a bit of a sift. So put the measuring cup on top and we'll sift it for 5 seconds on speed 4. And then we go on to the next step. And now we add the water and the olive oil. So we add 25 mils of olive oil. And the olive oil is just what makes it really crispy in the oven, and it gives it a lovely flavor. So the better the olive oil, the nicer the crackers. And then I'm going to add in 160 grams of water. So because this is gluten-free, we pop in 160 grams, but for this particular flour. But if you're using just regular all-purpose flour, it's 115 mils. So it's a bit less because of the gluten. The gluten does more work, but when it's gluten-free, the water does a bit more work. And it works great whether it's gluten-free or regular. So it's really great for those people who have allergies. A great recipe to use. So it says to pop it on, you just pop it on the dough setting for 30 seconds. Okay. Now it's just made it into, like, it looks like pebbles when it's all mixed together. So you're not mixing it for very long. And then what we'll actually do is we'll just put it straight down onto the mat. We don't have to flour the mat or anything because it's got olive oil in it. So it's going to be a nice sticky dough and it won't stick to your baking mat. So what we do is we just let it all come together into a ball and we just give it a bit of a knead into a ball. And you can see the color is really nice because of the paprika that's in it. But yeah, if you had like mustard powder or turmeric or something, or you could even use beetroot powder or green powder, you can like change the color of the crackers. And what we do now is we pop that into the fridge for a minimum of half an hour to rest, to get nice and cold. So I'll just wrap that up. And I do have one I prepared earlier, so I'll grab that out.
Awesome. Emma, we might just quickly pop back to Jess and just for her to finish off those muesli bars while you get out your one you've prepared.
No worries.
We'll be back in a second. All right, we'll just go back to Jess to get those muesli bars in the oven.
All right, so you can see here the lights have gone green, which means the bowl is under 60 degrees and the temperature of it's about 45 degrees. So that's it all mixed up. I'm just going to take that as that's going to be right. So it says to use choc chips. I've only got white choc chips. That'll do. You've got to put in 90 grams of them now. I feel like if you want to make these a bit healthier, you could just either leave out the choc chips or not put as much, only put them on top. Or even at this step, you could be adding in some dried fruit, like some apricot or sultanas or anything like that. But that's all you have to do there. Just mix it up, as you can see. And then we're going to put them into our snack bar molds, like I said before. So I've got the two here, and I like to actually sit them on a tray because they are quite, because they're silicone, they're quite flexible and a bit hard to get in and out of the oven. But the two of them sit perfectly on a tray together. So let's turn my camera down a little bit like that, if you can see there. And now you watch me like make a huge mess. But all you need to do is just pop it into the tray like this and really push it down. The trick to making the bars come out well is to actually really push them down with another spoon when you're putting them in. So that's a good way to actually really just pack them in as well. The more you pack them in, the more solid the bar will be when it comes out. As I said, you can actually just make this in a slice tray and then cut them up once the mixture cools. But if you do have these snack bar molds, I do highly recommend them for making muesli bars and little bars like this. Now, also what we need to then do as well, which these aren't the best here, but just you don't need to watch me do them all night. Just sprinkle a few more on top. So this is where I'm saying if you want to cut down the amount of chocolate, you could just sprinkle the chocolate on top rather than have it all through them as well. You could also, I've in the past with my muesli bars just drizzled some chocolate on top as well. And that seems to be a hit with the kids too. So that is the muesli bars made there. And now they just have to go in the oven. So it does say for 20 minutes, but because I've made them the snack bar mold, I think that will be a bit less than that. So I'll just watch that. And I'll show you at the end what they look like. But that is them done.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. We love that muesli bar recipe. Jess will pop it in the chat box shortly. We love it here as well. It's always a very popular recipe and the kids love it. It tastes like store-bought nuts. You'll love it. Just going to quickly show you my dough is all done there. So I'm just going to tip it out onto our bread mat as well. Just using the blades back and forth with the blades is the easiest way to release your dough. You'll see it dropping out shortly. And then I'm just going to wrap it up and rest it for about 15 minutes. So while Emma and Jess are cooking away, that's just going to be resting, and then I'll be ready to work with shortly. You can also, if you don't know the trick already, you can pop your bowl on the turbo mode for a couple of seconds and flick off that little bit of dough that's left around the base. So I'll do that and I'll rest my dough and I'll come back towards the end and show you what we're going to do with it. But we'll head back to Emma to finish off those packets.
Hi, so I'm back. I've got the dough out of the fridge. It's been in the fridge most of the afternoon. Basically, it has to rest for a minimum of 30 minutes, but just sneakily, I have made them without leaving them in the fridge, and they've been fine as well. But if you roll it into a bit of a log, this is good because you can actually freeze it in logs, or you can cut it into pieces. It says to cut it into about the size of a walnut, so and work with a little bit at a time. So you can actually make quite a lot of crackers with the whole thing. I've had up to six big trays in my oven at a time and made probably like 60 or 70 crackers. So it does make a lot. So if you have allergies or something like that and you just want to take them out for when you want to use them to keep them fresh, then that's really good too. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a rolling pin and I'm going to roll it out on a bit of thick baking paper. The reason I'm doing that is because this gluten-free flour kind of sticks to the baking tray, so it doesn't work very well for rolling crackers. You have to roll it out very, very thin. So it needs to be rolled out to about 1 millimeter thickness. So you roll it out as thin as you possibly can without it breaking is the rule. And once you've been doing it for a while, you have to get the hang of it, and it's quite easy. it can take a bit of practice, but that's why it's good to have the dough cold as well, so that you can roll it out really thin, really fast. So we're just giving it a roll out. And I'm using corn flour and just to lightly coat it so it doesn't stick. You can use corn flour, rice flour, or tapioca starch, and it'll do the job. So quite thin, it's breaking in the middle, so that's a good sign. So I'm going to use one of these cookie cutters just to make a nice shape. So you can probably see like it's pretty thin there, very thin. So I'm just going to pop it on the tray here and make a couple of them. Doesn't matter if it breaks away, because you can just bring it all back together again. So I've just made 3 there, so you can see what they're like. So before they go into the oven, they go in at 220 degrees. And what we're going to do is we're going to pop some sesame seeds on top, and we're going to brush it with a little bit of olive oil. So I've just got a little bit of olive oil, a lovely green olive oil, and just very lightly give them a bit of a brush. It just makes them extra crunchy. And then you can put other toppings. You can put fresh herbs. You can put dried garlic. You can put parmesan, whatever you like on the top of it as decoration. So we just sprinkle a few seeds. Now, one tip is if you are putting seeds or anything that's raised on top, press it down with your fingers and make sure it has contact with the olive oil and the dough, or else it won't stay on the cracker and it's kind of no point. So that's what they look like going in. And yeah, you pop them in the oven at 220 for 6 to 7 minutes, and then they're done. So it's super quick, super high, super quick, because they're so thin. And yeah, you'll be eating lovely crackers in no time.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma. I was just thinking when you were using your little cutter there, do you think that the the cracker rollers from the mix shop would work for that as
Yes.
well? Yeah.
Yep, you can use the cracker rollers. You can use little pastry rollers. Sometimes people have them for pasta, little pastry rollers.
Yeah.
And you can definitely use them as well to go either way. I don't
Yeah.
have
So I was thinking the
rollers,
cracker
but
rollers
they
would make
are.
it nice and quick.
Yeah, and you can do triangles with them, so that would be really cute. They're on my wish list, so I have to get those.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. We'll come back shortly for you to do your other recipe as well. Thank you. All right, we're going to head back over to Jess, who I'm sure has done a quick bowl swap for us, ready to show us how to make some little tiny teddies. Thanks,
Yes.
Jess.
Oh, I have done a quick bowl swap, so I'll just show you. I still had this much of my granola bar recipe left over from doing the 12 bars. So you're definitely going to get quite a few out of it. But back on, we are now doing tiny teddies. So I've got 3 kids that all devour tiny teddies. So this one is a much simpler recipe and much cheaper than buying them again. And it makes heaps, just a warning. And I'm just going to go to my week here. I have put this recipe, like Emma said, onto my created recipes from the recipe community. So again, I've just popped into the chat box, the granola recipe, and I'll pop this one up too once I've got this one in the oven. So these are called teeny tiny honey biscuits. So we'll just go to start cooking. You'll notice that the recipe is a little bit different on the screen when you do the created recipes. It's just a little bit different to what we used to, but as you say, you start off here and you can pop in the ingredients. It brings up the scales. So we need 130 grams of butter. So I've just got my butter here. I know I probably say this every time, but when I buy butter, I like to actually cut it up into cubes and keep it in a container. just to make life so much easier when I'm cooking with my Thermomix, because nearly every time it asks you for cubed butter. So I just have it like this, and it makes everything much cheaper and a lot more efficient. My butter is very melted because it is quite warm out here, and I was trying to get organized, but that's okay. That'll do. It's about 130. What's next? We'll go to tear, and we need a teaspoon of vanilla essence. So again, I'll just use my vanilla bean paste that I've made before. I always like to add a little bit extra because I don't follow recipes very well. And then we need 200 grams of honey. So I am cooking with a lot of honey tonight, but I'm very, very lucky that my uncle-in-law, I think you would call him, he has bees, and so we get fresh, beautiful honey from off our farm. So we're very lucky with that. Okay. Right there. All right, and then we also need 60 grams of sugar. Let me wash my hands. I always forget to tear the scales. Don't forget to tear the scales when you're doing it with created recipes. That's where I always go wrong. All right, go out of that. And then we'll click on the blades, and we just have to do melt it all together for 5 minutes, 100 degrees, and you just turn it around to speed 2. So I'll just melt that up now and go back to someone else.
Awesome, thank you. Hopefully Emma is there, and then she can get started with her next dish too. Sorry, Emma.
That's okay. I'm here. I am. Okay, so I've just been doing a bit of cleanup, and I've just put a fresh bowl on, which is, it's always good to have a second bowl. No, so fun. Sides to crush the patty. So yeah, the next thing that I'm making is I've popped it in my week for meal planning is called Hunter's Lemon Chicken Rissoles. So this could be a really good lunchbox recipe. It's a bit like chicken nuggets. It's a bit like you could turn them into balls, or you can have them as little rissoles. And they've got zesty lemon and herbs in them, which would be just, you know, so tasty. So, and breadcrumbs. So we'll get started. So you need to line a baking tray and pop some parmesan in, but I've actually already got parmesan ready to go. So I can skip. The great thing is you can skip forward to the place that you need to be. So we start with, we have a lemon, and I've taken all the zest off of the lemon, just with a little peeler where there's no white pith left. So we pop the lemon zest of the whole lemon in, and then we're going to whiz it up. So 10 seconds, speed 7. So, ooh, that lemon smells really good. So first, just scrape down the edges. So we've got all of our lemons zested right up really small. It's such a, one of the things I really love about a Thermomix is just how easily you can zest things up, and you don't need those little zester graters anymore. I don't miss those. And next we've got 2 garlic cloves. So pop in the garlic. So imagine this is going to be lemon and garlic and chicken. It's going to taste really good. It also says to pop in spring onions or shallots. we're not doing that. It's not to the taste of my family. So we're just going to go ahead with herbs. So I went outside to see what herbs we have. It suggests basil, but I've got oregano, so I'm going to put that in. I figure if it's basil, any kind of Italian herbs will work really well. So the same thing, I just use what's in season in my garden. We have a big edible garden, so I'm just popping in some rosemary and I'm popping in some lemon thyme as well, because I think lemon thyme will be really nice because there's already lemon in it, and I think it'll probably enhance that lemony flavor. And then we're going to whiz it up again and we'll get it all chopped up finely. So speed 7 for 5 seconds. So it's just scrape down the sides again. You can see all of that lovely green and yellow. It's so nice and colourful. One thing I've noticed about this recipe, it's high in protein, which is what you want. You want filling things in your lunchbox and in the kids' lunchboxes to keep them going. Oh, and we're going to whiz it a second time, just in case. Now we've got to put in 2 pieces of bread as well. So I've got gluten-free bread that I'm going to put in. So I'm going to scrape down the sides and pop in 2 pieces of day-old bread. That's going to bind it all together. It's also really, if you make your own bread, it's fantastic that you can like use your Thermomix to do breadcrumbs and really get the most out of everything that you're baking. So in again, and then give it another whiz. So we'll see if my bread's fairly tough, so I'll see if it needs another go. Yeah, some of it's still a bit big in there because it's gluten-free bread and the crust is very tough. I'm going to give it another whiz up. I want it to be nice and fine. So I just hit the back button so I can go back and repeat it. And you can do that with any recipe.
Emma, while that
now,
we might just can we just quickly just pop over to Jess just to get the rest of her tiny teddies done, just so that it can cool a little bit. We'll be back in a couple of seconds.
No worries.
Hi, Jess. You're on mute still, Jess, so.
Sorry, the oven timer went off just as I had to. You said you were going to come back to me. Okay, so that is our melted honey mixture in there. So the beauty of both these recipes too is they're both like egg-free and nut-free. So they are great for school lunchboxes if there are any allergies for anyone. Then we're going to add in the flour. So we've got 340 grams of plain flour. I'll quickly pop this in. Again, cooking is so much quicker and easier and less mess. Well, kind of, unless you watch me cook. When you don't have to actually use measuring cups or anything like that, which I love. This does make a lot, the recipe. So you can halve this recipe if you want to, because you will get a lot of tiny teddies, especially if you make them quite small, like like a tiny teddy. I'm just going to go in 130 grams of self-raising flour now. So make sure you tear the scales. That one. And then we also need a teaspoon of bicarb soda, which of course I forgot to get out. And then, all right, and then we are just going to mix that up for 30 seconds at speed 2.5. Quickly mix. It is a very sticky dough, as you'll see, because the we use such like all the honey and the butter mixture. So like Emma did as well, I'm going to use our dough mat here to work with this dough. So I go next. It says that the mixture will be quite sticky, but it will firm up as it cools. So you can see in here, it is very sticky looking. So what I might actually do to make it easier, because I'm working with it fairly quickly, I'm going to put a piece of baking paper down on my Thermomat, which usually you don't need to do.
Yes, we can
but
let it cool for
helps.
a few minutes if you want, while Emma finishes her results, and then come back and roll them out.
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
want to do that?
do that if you
Yeah.
like. Yep,
Yeah,
do that.
then it's a bit easier to work with.
Yeah.
So we'll let it cool in the jug for a few minutes. Emma will finish her results, and then we'll come back and roll them out.
No
Perfect.
worries.
Thanks. We'll see you shortly.
Thanks, Erin. So I've just popped the breadcrumb mixture and herb mixture into a bowl to set it aside. And you can sprinkle, you can use either nutritional yeast or parmesan in it as well. So just whatever is to your taste and your preference. So next we go in with 500 grams of chicken breast. So it doesn't need to be cut up super small or anything, just as, you know, just into pieces. And pop it in because the Thermomix will do all the work. And then we'll hit. And we'll just pop it on to whiz up. So it's like 7 seconds, speed 7. So it's actually just like when you do chicken nuggets and stuff like that, and other meatballs and that kind of thing. It whizzes it up. Super impressed with how it moves. And now it's asking for a tablespoon of sesame seeds. So I'm just going to pop that in there and measure it loosely. I've got sesame seeds in both my recipes tonight. I'm not sure why. It just worked out that way. And then I'll grab an egg. Got lovely eggs from our chooks here. Next. And now it's 55 grams of frozen peas and 55 grams of frozen corn. But I actually have fresh corn, so I'm just going to put the fresh corn in and frozen peas. And I did it earlier today and it worked just fine as well. So because they're not all frozen, it doesn't matter. You can probably use fresh or just put fresh ones in the fridge for a little while and just have them cool. The great thing about measuring them in is that you don't have to take out any extra bowls or anything. You can go straight from the freezer. Ooh, one more. Straight from the freezer into your Thermomix. And then it says 1 to 2 pinches of salt. I actually found that the lemon brings out that chicken flavor a lot, so you don't need a lot of salt. Like just one pinch will probably be plenty, and it's healthier too. And you can put black pepper in if you like as well. And then we put this mixture, the breadcrumb mixture, all back in as well. But there's lots of things on Cookie Do that you can make like this that are a bit like fritters. You could do corn fritters, zucchini fritters. Have a look on your Cookie Do. You could have broccoli little fritters as well. And yeah, so we're going to whiz it up for 15 seconds, reverse speed 3. So it's being a bit gentle. Here comes the fun part. So I've got a plate with some flour, just plain flour, drizzled on it. And we make 12 rissoles with this. So I'll just show you. This is kind of the size I'm going for. I like this spoon. It's like not quite as big as a tablespoon, but it always makes a good sized rissole or nugget. And then you just toss it in a little bit of flour, and just however, like I mean, you could do 6 big ones, 12 little ones. You could do chicken nuggets with it. You can do lots of different things. But I'll just show you some that I've had in the fridge. So that's those there already made and ready to go. So what I'm going to do with them is actually, it says in the recipe to pop it in a frying pan and cook them in oil on medium heat for 10 minutes. So 5 minutes each side. So I actually tried it in the air fryer today and it worked really well, 180 degrees. So I put it on for 5 minutes and then I turned them over and put them on for another 5 minutes and they were cooked really perfect. So that's a really good tip. Use an air fryer when you can. And yeah, I'll be back to you to show you them all cooked in a little while once Jess is finished.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma. We'll come back at the end and see your cooked rissoles and your crackers. Awesome. We'll quickly pop back to Jess to roll out these tiny teddies and then I'll get this dough done. I am mindful of the time, so we're doing our best to keep to time, but we'll get these tiny teddies in the oven.
All right, so here is our dough now. It has cooled down enough for me to handle. As I said, it makes a lot, so I'm just going to work with probably half of it for now. This is just a bowl scraper to use on the Thermomat because you just don't want to be using a knife or anything like that because you don't want to cut this into the silicone in your mat. You'll find them on the mix shop as well. So you just need to roll out the dough to quite thin. It says to 2 to 3 mil thickness. And you start, like Emma said before, you do get a bit of a feel of how thin you need it. Like that's probably actually almost a little bit too thin. Let's go with that. I do have this tiny teddy little cutter. It is quite tedious, but you do then go through and just cut out your little tiny teddies. So I did have, you can get cutters which are like 5 or 6 little tiny teddies in a row, but I found it really hard to clean. So I would prefer to actually do it this way. So there is a little tiny teddy. And you start just popping them on the tray. They do only, because they're so small, they do only take a few minutes to cook. You'll just see them slightly change color, and that is enough. You can use any shape you want. You don't have to do teddies for the tiny teddies. You can also, while I'm quickly just putting a few on a tray, you can also add in some hundreds and thousands if you do want to do like the sprinkle tiny teddies. You would just add it into the dough now. I'll just, I might do that in my next lot while Erin's cooking, but I'll just put a few sprinkles on and mix it in by hand, and then cut out the shapes and pop them in the oven. So you can see on there, we're already starting our little tiny teddies, and they'll just take a few minutes in the oven and they'll be done.
So
So
cute.
pretty simple recipe.
Thanks, Jess.
No
All right, we'll
worries.
come back and see them finish at the end. I just popped in the chat box. You can really see how the texture of that dough changes as it cools down too, can't you?
Yeah,
it went
that's
from
right.
being
It
very,
really,
very sticky to very easy to work with.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so definitely give yourself that little bit of time to cool the dough down to work with it, guys. All right, so I am just going to very quickly, before I make all my rolls and things, grate some cheese in my Thermomix. I haven't washed my bowl or anything. Using the same bowl, a little bit of dough in with your cheese, and when you're adding it to your rolls and things is not going to hurt you. So, so just cut your cheese into just rough squares and throw it all in. I have pre-done some already and some with bacon as well. So if you're going to make some cheese and bacon rolls or some pizza scrolls, just throw in some bacon with it now. Just roughly chop it. You know, if it's shortcut, you can just cut it in half. If it's like longer rashes, cut it in 4 pieces. Like, don't be fussy about it. Just throw it in and your Thermomix will do it for you. So to grate my cheese, I'm just going to do 5 seconds on speed 7. Zoom will mute me out for this because it will be very loud, but I'll see you in 5 seconds. All right, so that's that done. So then it's ready to go. I probably didn't need to pre-make another bit of dough, but I've got dough coming out my eyeballs now because I had some at all different levels for you. So like I said, after that dough kneaded before, we just wanted to let it rest for 15 minutes. And that is now what we are left with here. This one has been resting since before the demo, so it's a little bit stickier than what it would be, but still perfectly fine to work with. For this tonight, I wanted to show you guys a few different ways you can use a basic bread recipe. So for this one, I am going to cut my dough in 5 pieces and then show you all a few different things. But obviously, if you are just making scrolls or rolls or mini hot dogs, you can just use your whole lot of doughs and just work with it from there. So I'm just going to, again, use my bowl scraper like Jess did on my mat. And remember, these mats you can grab as a host reward too, guys. So if you haven't got one, everybody needs at least one bread mat in their life. I'm very conscious that it's nearly 9, guys. I'm going to go as quickly as I can here and then we'll be all finished. You are happy to bear with us for a little bit longer. So I've got 5 lots of dough there. And then the first one I am going to do is just some basic bread rolls. So I'm going to separate that into 4. Again, you can, if you wanted to, if you want to be particular about size of your rolls and all that thing, all those things, you can use your scales on your Thermomix to weigh out your dough. I don't really bother, to be honest. I just go by, they look about the same. But how I roll out rolls is I use the palm of my left hand, I am right-handed, and the fingers of my right. So I use the fingers of my right to tuck and the palm of my left to kind of roll it. So in a couple of seconds, you just roll it around like that. So again, and one more. Is everyone making rolls? Who's made rolls with their Thermomix? There's really not much hands-on time to rolls at all. I think people get a bit scared off by making their own breads and doughs, but a lot easier than what you might think. So again, just using my palm and my fingers to tuck and create a bit of like a pocket of air underneath. Some other people give it a bit of a roll on the mat. It's completely up to you how you like to do it, really. So that is some rolls. That's all you need to do for your rolls. Super easy. And then no matter what you're doing, you just need to proof it. You need to, what's my 3 then, 4? You just need to give yourself time. The main thing when you're making, hang on, I'll tell you what I'm going to do here first. So now I'm going to make some knot rolls. So I'm just going to roll out the bread, the dough into a long kind of roll. So the main thing you need to remember when you're making breads and doughs is that you need proofing time. So they're not hard. They don't take much hands-on time, but they do take a little bit of proofing time. So you just want to do it on a time where you've got a few hours at home that you can make your bread, make your rolls, and then leave them to proof. So once you've rolled it out, you're just going to literally just tie it in a knot. Do another one. So just roll it out nice and thin. And again, just like the girl said before, depending on, what you're making and how big you want it is what you do. So if you want bigger rolls, obviously you're going to make less and just make them a little bit bigger. If you want smaller, up to you. So long and literally just tie in a knot. All right, so that's our 2 lots of rolls there. I'll just do this one quickly. And then when you're proofing, you just want to proof until your rolls, bread, whatever you're making is doubled in size. So I think make this 24 again. The main thing that people kind of get stuck with, or that, if they message me and think that their breads, doughs haven't worked out as they would like, is that they haven't proofed long enough. A recipe might say proof for 30 minutes. We've got to remember that all recipes are made in different environments. So where we are in beautiful Victoria, I'm just going to use the mini loaf tray for this one. Now I'm going to make some mini hot dogs. In Victoria, especially in the cooler months, things can take so much longer than perhaps in Perth, where in Australia, our recipe development kitchen is. So what proofs in 30 minutes in Perth would not proof in 30 minutes in a Victorian winter. So we always want to proof until you are doubled in size rather than time. So ignore the time on any recipe and go to doubled in size is my biggest tip. So for these little loaves, I do the same as in roll it in a circle, and then I just kind of work it into a little log. And then use my mini loaf tray. Is anyone making mini hot dogs, or is anyone buying mini hot dogs from Baker's Delight? I've never actually bought them from there myself, but I understand they are very expensive. And they are so much cheaper to make at home. So that's all you have to do. So we've got so far our rolls, which I had an extra lot to make into cheese and bacon rolls, but obviously you don't need to see me make double them out. They're still the same as far as rolling them out. Our nut rolls, our little mini loaves ready for our hot dogs. And then lastly, I'm just going to show you really quickly how to make some scrolls. Just move those out of the way. This is why the bread mats are so amazing. I didn't flour this or anything before we started at all, but the dough just comes straight off it. So much easier to work with. So you just want to kind of roll out your dough into a rectangle for your scrolls. So just working back and forth and side to side. And obviously these for our lunch boxes are going to be savoury scrolls. And again, you can make them into whatever you want, whatever your kids like, whatever you like. I'm going to do cheese and Vegemite scrolls because that's what my little ones love. But pizza scrolls is also very popular in our house. And you can obviously do them just by a bit of pizza sauce, some ham and some cheese. You can make like a pesto one. You can do whatever you like really with your scrolls. It's super easy just to make them however you like. So I've got a big tub of Vegemite. And I love to use like a cake decorating spatula for the scrolls because it's so easy to spread stuff on there without digging in with a normal knife. So you just want to go around to the edges. And I know, especially people that are perhaps not huge Vegemite fans, it always looks like so much on the scrolls, but I promise you that you want to kind of lay it on quite thick to really get the good flavour once they're cooked. Certainly probably wouldn't want to eat them like this, but It's works out well once they're done, I promise. And then you're just going to sprinkle that with that cheese that we grated up before. We are nearly done, guys. I'll be another probably 5 minutes and then we'll wrap up. And then when it comes to rolling it, you just want to work like from the furthest to you towards you. Some people I know do like to use their dough cutter perhaps to cut it into strips and then roll. I prefer just to do it in one hit. And you just want to kind of tuck as you roll. It's hard to show from this angle. I should have done it sideways, sorry. But just making sure that you're tucking your dough as you're rolling so that it's nice and firm. And that's it. And then grab a chopping board because again, you don't want to cut on your bread mat or you will ruin it. And a serrated knife. That's my other big tip. A serrated knife for your cutting your dough because then you can kind of saw it rather than squashing it down. So there are our cheesy Vegemite smells ready to proof. So, like I said, we are going to proof all of these until they're doubled in size. And grab some that I've prepared earlier. These rolls, I'd say, are not quite ready. You can see the knot rolls there, the normal rolls, some that we'll add cheese and bacon to. I'm going to end up with a giant mess and a whole lot of rolls here. So when I do the cheese and bacon rolls, you can brush them with a bit of egg to help the cheese and bacon stick if you like, but I generally just kind of pop it on the top. So I've just got, you know how I said that I grate up that bacon with the cheese? So it's all one mixture and just popping it on the top and then popping it straight in the oven. So we've got, again, plain rolls, knot rolls, cheese and bacon rolls. Then we have our Vegemite and cheese scrolls that are not quite doubled in size yet, but they're getting there, especially when you compare it to how we started there. You can see they're the dough is starting to thicken out, prove there, but they do need a little bit more time before I pop those in the oven. And then we have our ones in our mini loaf tray. So they're definitely ready. You can see the comparison there. They're doubled in size. So I'll just show you how I finish off those and then we can pop them in the oven. So just grab my kitchen scissors and literally just, obviously being very careful of the tray, cut a line across those. Grab some sauce. Again, do what you and your family, your kids like. My kids love the tomato sauce in these. Other people do barbecue. And push that in the side. And then just sticking your little hot dogs in there. Just push them right in. Because they do kind of, as the dough, like obviously proofs a little bit more in the oven and grows a bit more, they do kind of pop out a little bit. So you want to make sure you push them right in. Right, kind of till you feel them, you know, get as close to the bottom of the tray as you can. I then add a teeny bit more sauce. And then top with some cheese. The chat box has moved a bit too quickly there for me, Jess, but if there's anything I need to answer, just let me know. And they are ready to pop in the oven. So we've got our mini hot dogs, our scrolls, our cheese and bacon rolls, our knot rolls, and our plain rolls all ready to go in the oven. And look how quickly they baked, huh? Here's some I prepared earlier. So again, those cheese and bacon rolls, mini hot dogs, Vegemite and cheese scrolls, plain rolls, they're beautiful and soft, and our nut rolls. So yeah, all from one basic bread recipe. Super easy with very little hands-on time. And again, obviously I've shown you how to do all of them with um, one lot of the dough. But if you're making, any one in particular, you would get all of this of the one variety. So it does make quite a large amount. Perfect to pop in the freezer. I freeze all of mine for the kids, and I can promise you that my kids would complain if there was anything wrong with them. But as long as they're frozen on the day that they are made, they come out of the freezer perfectly for the lunch boxes. So absolutely no problems with that whatsoever. But great and really easy way to save you time with your lunch boxes on a school morning. So that's it. If you've got any questions about the roll, anything of the bread and rolls, let me know. Otherwise, we'll pop back to the girls quickly and see their finished products, and then we're all done. So who can I see? Ema's there, ready for me.
Thanks, Erin. So I've just got those have come out of the air fryer, so I'm just popping them on. And you can see they've cooked up really well in the air fryer. So that's the rissoles there, all full of, herbs, lemon zest, peas, corn. There's lots of goodness in there. They could be pretty fab. Little chicken nuggets these ones are smaller for your toddlers. You can do some balls in there for lunches. And yeah, I've also got the crackers have come out and they're done. So I'll just show you up close. This is a nice crunchy one. You can see this really thin, but they've puffed up. They puff up and there's air pockets and there's a crunch. I don't know if you can hear the crunch, but you can see them there, and they're really, really tasty. So imagine not having to, you've run out of crackers, you can just make them at home. You don't have to pack the kids into the car and go to the supermarket. You can just make your own with bread flour or all-purpose flour. And yeah, and you can mess with the flavors and add even add colors to them. So they're really great for your lunchbox, and you can pop them in there with dips, and you can control how much salt goes in them and that kind of thing. So much healthier. So yeah, there's my two there.
Yeah, they look great. Thanks, Emma. The results look really good. And yeah, I was saying to Emma before, I think that I would personally make them as little balls. I think my kids would love them in their lunchbox, something like that, in a little cooler. So yeah, great idea. Thank you. And as you said, protein packed is perfect. That's what we want.
Yeah, and healthy, full of all those herbs.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Emma, for cooking with us tonight. And just remind us again on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, Instagram, I'm Red Dirt Road Life. I'm not on Facebook really. But,
That's okay. Red Dirt Road Life.
Yeah, and I can add you to my private Facebook group, which is where all the fun Thermomix stuff happens.
Amazing. Thank you so much for cooking with us tonight, Emma.
Thank you.
And we'll go back to Jess.
All right, so here is all my finished products. So here are my granola bars. So you can see here they've made a perfect sort of muesli bar size. They only took 12 minutes to cook rather than 20 minutes as a recipe, just because they're such a smaller size, I think, that they've gone really well. Just make sure when you get them out of the molds, you let it cool down though, because they will harden as they cool. And these on the back here are my little tiny teddies. Nice and cute little tiny teddies. I did put some hundreds and thousands sprinkles in these ones. So they are the sprinkle tiny teddies, if that's the ones your kids do like. Now, all these ones here aren't even a quarter of the dough. So I probably have nearly a whole nother tray from just 1/4 of the dough. So it will make a lot. So that's why I did suggest earlier that you can halve it if you want to. But both these recipes are both nut-free and egg-free. So they are perfect for school lunches and everything like that. So yeah, nice and easy.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jess. I definitely need to try those tiny teas. I think the kids are going to love them.
Yeah, they're really good.
So cute with the sprinkles too. Thank you so much. And remind us again where we can find you on Facebook and Instagram.
Yep. So I am Thermilife on the Farm, both Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much again for cooking with us tonight.
No worries.
All right, guys, so that's pretty much us covered for tonight. A big thank you to everyone who has joined us. I have recorded this, so if you want to watch back and watch anything again, get the hints and tips again, please let us know. I'll pop it up on our YouTube to watch out. We will have another class coming in February, thinking probably a healthier eating one in February to get us all back in a good routine after school holidays. So please keep your eyes peeled for that. But thank you for joining us. I am on Facebook and Instagram as the Thermo Loving Mum, if you would like to follow me as well. But yes, thank you. Please reach out to your consultant if you've got any questions at all. We do have a couple of incredible deals running at the moment. If you are interested in purchasing a Thermomix, you can get a free second bowl and a $300 mix shop voucher with your purchase at the moment. And if you've ever thought about joining our team, we would absolutely love to have you. And there are incredible deals happening at the moment, which makes it the best time ever to join. So if you'd like information on that, please reach out to your consultant or to one of us. We would love to answer any questions you have and hopefully welcome you into our team. We know you're going to love it. So thank you. We hope we have taught you something new tonight, given you some new ideas and inspiration. And if you have any questions at all, please reach out. And hopefully we will see you on one of our classes again soon. Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah, of course. Now, yeah, I'll get it uploaded once we're finished here and send it through to you. Thanks, everybody.